Welcome to The Oracle Scroll, a podcast for the spiritual seeker. Please join me, Kevin Walder, your host, as we explore living a spiritual life in a very mixed up world. We have the pleasure of having Shaman Weaver Shiela Baker as our presenter. Shiela describes herself as an author, a nurse, a psychotherapist, a PTSD specialist. This line here, she talks about being a mother and a boss, or a bossy mother. We're not sure. She's a psychic. She's a shaman. She even has a master's degree in movement therapy, which that's pretty impressive. She's going to talk to us today about busting our bogus beliefs. Yeah. And boy, we've got a bunch. So let's just turn the tables over and let Shiela take it from here.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. So, as part of my education, going through nursing and doing all of these things, there was a part of me that always felt nervous, always felt like, I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, I'm not lovable. Well, those three things are the basis of what every child needs to feel in the world, and yet we don't. And so we begin our lives expecting that we're going to be taught that we're lovable, and we are for a certain period of time, and then we get unlovable, right? And there'll be something going on that someone doesn't like, so then that shifts for us, and then we believe that because of that behavior we are unlovable. And when I started to think about beliefs, and I started to think about fear, because fear is based in a belief that you're either not lovable, not capable, or not worthwhile. And so when it boils down to those kinds of things. Because when you look at your fears, you underlying this fear that's holding you back is a belief. It's like a basket. Okay, so there's this basket that's a belief. It's holding you there. And if you attempt to climb out of that little basket, it's going to pull you back in because it's comfortable. It comes from the reptilian brain. And the reptilian brain likes to be cozy, comfortable at all costs. It's super hyper vigilant, always looking for what's going to go wrong. And it's programmed like that. It can't help itself, but we can. We can train our brain to go, oh, wait a minute, let me look at that differently because of how I feel. Underlying all of our beliefs is a feeling. And and mixed in with that is the fear. So the fear, what we know already is that an idea becomes, a thought becomes an idea becomes an action becomes your beliefs, and it's entrenched because it's an action in every cell of your body. So you don't have a choice but to believe that until you actually shake things up. And what's beautiful about the rattle and the drum is that they allow your brain, this is science, they allow your brain to drop into a theta state. And in that theta state, what you have access to is, in the shamanic world, called the other world. In some areas, Deepak Chopra talks about this in terms of the field of infinite possibilities. And your brain has that ability. It has that ability when it goes into a meditative state. But one of the things that happened for me is I would go into a meditative state, but I would get all of this information, but it would just be random. And I'd be like, what the hell? How useful is that? And, what am I going to do with it? Because I'm supposed to lay here for another 15 minutes. So I decided to use that kind of state to ask intentional questions. if I was going to get information, I wanted it to be pertinent to myself and pertinent to people around me. And as I learned over time, I could access this information and I could give it to other people. However, some of the times what I found was resistance. And I started to look at, why is there resistance to this information? It's just information, and I'm just giving it. The resistance comes because there's a belief that whatever is being given to you either has an attachment or it's wrong. Or there's probably a myriad of other reasons as well. But there's no open-heartedness. There's no openness in beliefs in your mind to be able to receive that information. So that was really a quandary for me. And what I knew by the time I was 7, because at 5 I had a near-death experience, and people would come to me and they would tell me their problems, and I would be like, what the heck, I'm just a kid. But out of my mouth would drop something. What I learned is if they did what came out, their life changed. If they didn't do that, pretty much it stayed the same, and sometimes it got worse. So I was like, why is that happening? Well, it's happening because things that you tell yourself over and over and over, or you hear from somebody in authority, that over and over, you begin to treat them like they're true. And when you think that, when you act like that, it becomes a belief. And when you act like that long enough, that belief is instilled in every cell of your body. And you act as if that belief is true. And, we know tons of them that aren't, like, don't eat eggs because they're really bad for you. Oh, rewind, eggs are okay. So we buy into that. We believe that, we put the egg industry in a dramatic decline, only to find out, whoops, that's erroneous. But we believed it and we acted like that belief was true. So personally, we have dozens of beliefs that are just automatic. Like, I take my coffee with cream and sugar. And that's an action, that's your belief. And if someone tries to give it to you in any other kind of different way, oh, nope, not having that. So something as seemingly insignificant as how you take your coffee actually begins to open your eyes to, wow, if I'm this rigid about my coffee, what else am I rigid about? And when you do that, you begin to question, you begin to get curious. And for me, it's not a judgment, it's just a curiosity. Like, I just get curious about, why am I such a whack job about that? And why does this other thing that everybody else thinks is important have no relevance whatsoever? So you begin to do that internal searching, that soul searching that I was talking about a few minutes ago with Kevin. And it also soul enhancing, because when you look deeply into these calcified beliefs, you begin to enhance your soul, because your soul is here for expansion and growth and to learn. Well, you're not learning if you're in calcified thought patterns. So the way to shift this up for yourself is to look at, what do you want? And so I invite everybody to grab a piece of paper and just write that down, because here's what I have found is that if I have a want and I don't have that, underlying that is a belief that somehow that is not for me. And I use a really mundane one. Let's say I want a new car. Well, when I was a kid, my dad told me, when you buy a new car, when you drive it off the lot, it depreciates $1,000. Boom, right? Just right at the curb there. Wham, $1,000 flies out the back window. So that put me in a place where I never, well, once I had a partner and we had a new car, but since then, no new cars. But that belief also resulted in a whole lot of other stuff. So let's say right now I want a new car. I'll write down new car. Okay. Then I want to write down all of the beliefs that are attached to that getting a new car. Okay. Because that's what's stopping you. And we rationalize it. Well, I don't really need one. I had one 20 years ago. This one's not worn out. I can't afford it. And all of those things. So you can write this down. Excuses are inexcusable. No more excuses. But when you say no more excuses, you make up another one. So when you say to yourself, excuses are unexcusable, it totally nullifies itself. But it's our brain, once again, it's the left side. And what it wants to do is it wants to make everything logical and everything rational. So I want a new car. I feel like I want a new car. And then I write down all the beliefs over here about why I don't have that car. Okay. Then I look at where did those beliefs come from? This is a really important piece. It could be that I have like 4 different beliefs about new cars. They smell bad. No, it's got a new car smell. And you write those down. And you make it not boring. You make it like it's really something you would want to look at again and go back and explore. But if you make it boring, you're going to rule that possibility right out. So you write down those things and then you look at them, and one by one you look at the beliefs and go, where did it come from? Well, early on I went to get a car, but I had a job. I was a nurse. This was, I don't know, the early 70s or something. I marched into the bank to get my loan. Do you think I could get a loan? Nope. I had to have a cosigner who was a guy. So there's, did we bust that belief? Yes, we have. But before that time, we believed that kind of nonsense. And now we have something different. So maybe it's society that tells me that, women don't get new cars or whatever it is. But you want to source those for yourself, because what we're going to do is we're going to return those beliefs to source. So now you have your want, you have your beliefs about it. You've sourced them. And then what you're going to do is you're going to use your imagination. And I had the rattle up here a minute ago, because when you use the drum, or when you use the rattle, or when you use something like trance music, something with the same beat over and over and over again, it helps your brain come out of alpha and past beta and into theta, where you can expand into your imagination. But if you're here, you already have an imagination, so we'll just tap into that. So you want to use your imagination for this next piece. And what you want to do, what I'm going to invite you to do, is write those beliefs out, each one of them. And if they come from like 4 different spots, I have 4 beliefs, they come from 4 different places, I'm going to write out the 4 beliefs separately. And then in my imagination, so this part's in your imagination. In my imagination, I'm going to get a box, and 4 boxes if I have 4 beliefs. And if they go to different spots, if they are all lumped into like my dad, then I only have 1 box for my dad. So you're going to imagine boxes. You're going to put these beliefs into the box. You're going to imagine the most beautiful present you have ever, ever, ever received or given. And you're going to wrap that up like that. Then you're going to return that to the source where it came from. So you're just imagining the box, imagining wrapping it, imagine putting it in there, and then you do like this and you let it go. And regardless of whether the person or whoever gave it to you is still on this plane or not, you send it back. So I would be sending it back to my dad, who's gone for a long time. You're going to imagine the little silver thread that's attached to that box and you. And then you're going to use your scissors, because it's important that we concretize this in the body. That's why you write it out, because you're taking it out of your body. I'll tell you what to do about that in a second. But you're going to send this imaginary box, see the little silver thread, with your scissors, you're going to cut that silver thread. And all of that energy will roll back to that source, whoever it was, whatever it was, and back to you. Automatically, you will find a sense of freedom. You'll just take a breath and you'll go, whoo, let that one go. And now you're going to take all of those little pieces of paper that you wrote down in the practical world. You're going to gather them all up. You're going to burn them. You're going to take those ashes and you're going to come over. You're going to dig a little hole somewhere close to a plant. Plants love ash. That's why when the forest burns down, it's not very long before they come popping back up. So you're going to take those ashes. You're going to bury them somewhere close to a plant, and then you're going to watch that plant thrive on those crappy, bogus beliefs. What that does is it concretizes it once again, because we're kind of stuck in that if I can see it, I can believe it kind of thing. So you're going to be able to see how fruitful those beliefs were once you buried them, once they're not stuck in your body. Between the time that you do that, if you don't, because we're all procrastinators, right? We would have figured this out and done it ages ago. If you're a lagger and you don't do this pronto, what I would love for you to do, well, it's really important that you burn it. So don't be laggers. Just get out there and do it. Because when you're come back from that, you've buried something. And a rebirthing can happen at this moment. If you think about the goddess Isis, she's all about birth, death, and rebirth. She put Osiris back together and had a child after that. So she's about rebirthing. So you can use her energy for this. You can use any of your allies at all to help you create brand new beliefs. So my new belief around this car, and what you also want to think about this, because this will really make it, this will have impact. What has that belief, the one that you are sending back, what did it cost you? Because if you're thinking, oh, I don't really want to do this, I'll just do this all in my head. I want you to think about what that belief cost you. And from that place, you are going to be able to create yourself a belief that is amazing. So what I found out personally from this car thing was that my dad telling me that a new car depreciates didn't stop at the new car depreciating. It stopped at buying anything new. So, if you're running a business, buying a secondhand camera, buying secondhand lights, buying secondhand computers is really not going to cut it. So here I am, I'm buying new stuff, but I have this internal conflict because, it's going to depreciate. Oh my God, I want to love my dad and honor the teachings, and here I am in conflict. I'm too old for this. So, and if you think about it, you can be 3 and be too old for it. But when you think about this, when you think about what has it cost you over time, releasing, burying, burning these beliefs and creating a new one is really going to create an incredible sense of freedom. Because now you're coming from a place of using your deep inner knowing, your intuition, your inner visioning. And I have a 4-week course that's coming up on that, and I'll leave you a little message. Um, but when you do this, when you tap into your coreness, your authenticity gets a chance to shine because you're not held back by your dad or your society or your whatever. And so from that, what I learned is that the new belief that I have is I buy new things. I mean, I don't go buy recycled food. So you know why, why would you want to do that? So you get to create a brand new belief and keep it simple, because to make it long and complicated is to make it long and complicated. So I'll go through the process for you one more time. You have something you want. You don't have it. Yeah, you have something you want, but you don't have it. So you write that down, whatever it is. And then you write down the beliefs surrounding that thing that you can't have. Whether it's a house, a relationship, a chicken, a dog, a cat, it doesn't matter what it is. Write it down because you want it. And if you want it, there's a good chance, we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. There's a good chance that spirit wants this for you. So don't deny your desires, as long as ye harm none. So you have a want. You have beliefs surrounding that are keeping you from that. Write them down. Who do they belong to? Source them. Then physically write them down individually. Create a beautiful package here and put that belief inside of there. Ship it back to wherever it came from. Cut the cord. After you've done that, then take all those bits of paper with the beliefs on them, burn them, bury them. Come to a place where you're writing your brand new beliefs. And what I would encourage you to do is to track it for about 3 weeks, 21 days. How are you doing with this new belief? Is it really fitting you? Because, you just crafted it, so it might need a little tweaking. You might have to, I don't know. Because here's what the thing is. Feelings rule and rock you. If it feels expansive, you're on the right track. If it feels contracting, then chances are that is not the right path for you. It might be exactly the right path for the person right next to you, but you get to decide in this body. The mind, you will want to put you back into what you're comfortable with. So you get to say thank you to that. Thank you, I was there. I got the t-shirt and everything. So just say thank you, because for the first little bit, when you're trying on a new belief, it's going to get some challenges. Your reptilian brain is not going to want to relinquish. And so you've got to train it. And the way that you train it is to not resist it, because what do we know? What we resist persists. If you don't want something, shove against it. You're going to get more. There's that bounce back thing. So just give it thanks. You may have to thank it 4,000 times, but it's a lot better than pushing 4,000 times. And as you do that, what you'll notice is that your core gets stronger, because now you're in alignment with your true self. You're more authentic. You get to be more happy because you're figuring things out for yourself. And everything is figure outable. Everything has a solution. There are no problems that come without solutions. And part of it is we don't believe that. So you get to write that one out. I don't believe there are solutions. Where did that come from? Well, the media. And honestly, I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but do yourself a favor and plug in for about 20 minutes a day and counterbalance that with 20 minutes a day out in nature. And then see how that works for you. So this is Shaman Weaver Shiela Baker. Thank you so much for listening. If you have questions, I'd love to hear them. And do the practice. Oh, and someone's in the
Go ahead and tell us about your program that you're putting together. I think you have two things that you're doing.
I do. Okay, this is adult content, so plug your ears. Okay. So I have a 5-day challenge called Fearless, because I think it's time for us all to become brave and to become the kind of people who stand up for what we believe. And we can't do this if we allow ourselves to be locked down in fear. So over the 5 days, I invite you to, we look at how we can see fear differently, how we can actually come to use it, how it gives us power if we're willing to take a hold of it, and it's simple. Then we look at the beliefs, and today was actually day 3, so we just did this earlier today and busted some of those. We also look at inner visioning, because once you come to a place where you're looking at your fears and you're coming up against them, it's a beautiful, wonderful thing to have the possibility of seeing something different. And inner visioning does that. So I take you through a process of that, where we use that theta brainwave, and we drop into a place where you have access to non-ordinary reality, to creating your life as you want. And then you start to take action steps. And then the final day, we share our successes, we move on. And my what I have for the participants of that, now it's free 5 days, and it's been fabulous. It's going to continue to be fabulous. So where we're going up to that is a 4-week program that has a fee, and we look at how to create from this brave place where we're now, we're changed. We did the 5 days. We dropped all of that. We are now brave souls. And now how can we create life out of that? And, what more is there to drop away that isn't holding us and isn't uplifting us and isn't drawing us towards our passion and our prosperity and our purpose? So those 2 separate programs, Fearless AF and Inner Visioning.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have a little note in there that says to participants, that this is adult content and I'm Canadian, so I'm going to apologize up front. I'm going to say sorry and get your earbuds.
So
But what
works.
I'm noticing is that it's taking a little bit taking a little bit to shake people up. They're already so wobbly that, that it's just like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
So if
A little,
swearing works, I'm going to do it.
a little shock value, I guess.
Yeah. And so someone asked, I think, Norman, you asked a question. Oh, yeah. So what I believe is yes about that. I was a psychotherapist, and the reason that I left that field, well, first of all, because my heart was getting broken all the time. I worked with children and families who were in danger. And then also I found that the modalities that I was learning when I was studying astrology and when I was studying Wicca and when I was studying shamanism, and hypnotherapy and play therapy, that the modality that worked the best was one that people could use for themselves over and over. And what I believe is that a lot of our people who are deemed mentally ill actually have a lot of insights to give, but no one has the ability to train them. And, I knew this years and decades ago, when I was a student nurse, after somebody had 5 major things and they had a psychotic break, they had a diagnosis. That is just ridiculous. So, I ranted there for a minute.
That's good. That's fine. I unmuted you, Norman, if you want to continue.
Well, she got me with her issue on beliefs. I think core beliefs are our biggest hang-up. And I was going to ask her to explain a little bit more about how to change your belief system, because we have our belief systems established shortly after birth, you don't do that, just smile, you don't touch this, don't touch that. But the difficult one to smash, and she's done a damn good job at doing that, I think, with her approach. And I just want to talk a little bit more about it.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to. So what I did is, and how did I come? I don't even sure how I came to this, but you know, when I think it was my own desires and really looking at desires, because we're told we're not allowed to have those either. You know, those are naughty. And if you look at the word, it's desire of the Father. So the word tells you that this is divinity asking you for something. And then, you know, the ego, well, somebody's ego, not my ego, somebody's ego says, no, you're not allowed to do that. And so we let somebody else be a bigger authority over me than I am. That's crazy. But we're only getting to that place right now where we think that's crazy. Up until now, and we have been schooled to be drones and not use our minds. And, you know, we're taught to, you know, to march along and do the 9-to-5 thing. Well, I just couldn't 23 years ago. You know, I went on my first vision quest. I came back from that and I literally could not stand up. So I looked at what is support, you know, what is your back support, being able to lean into. There was no support there. So, you know, a week later, I went in and handed my resignation in and walked out. So was I fearful? Hell no, I was excited. I didn't have a clue, you know, and 23 years later, here I am talking to you. So I think it worked out okay.
I think
that's the problem. People who want to change, who want to shuck those things that have instilled in them without their approval are frowned upon.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they've been burned at the stake in past centuries and that kind of.
So here's what I think about the word tend, and you can put pre and and in front of it. To tend to something is to care for it. To pretend is to care for it ahead of time. And then after, you know, so you pretend something into existence, right? Then you're tending to it. You have to attend to it. So when we're training our brain, which is, I mean, it's not that difficult. There's all kinds of, you know, I have a grounding meditation. In the grounding meditation, I teach people to use kinesthetic cues. I also teach people that there is no difference in the symptomology in their body between fear and excitement. You get the same heart rush, you get the same sweaty palms, sweaty feet, you know, you can't breathe, all of that. When you say to yourself, I feel excited, as opposed to, oh my God, that's scary, your body aligns with that. Your mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and what you imagine. That's why acting as if, when you can move past that resistance, when you act as if, it becomes you. So a physical, I like physical cues for people. So when you think about, you want to do something, you want to be better at this. So you use one of your hands as be and other of your hands as come. And then you become that. And that simple act draws those two things together. And the more you use the body to anchor these things in, that's the dance movement therapy part, right? Because muscles hold memories. However, if every 3 years, all of your entire body is brand new, why are they still holding those stupid memories? Because of this. Because we haven't trained ourselves to say, you know what, I'm not going to relive that. That's one of the reasons I got out of psychotherapy. Every week they come and then they dig open their wound again, drop some blood out, we'd put a Band-Aid on it, and 50 minutes, see ya. That's just ridiculous. So post-traumatic stress has exactly the same symptoms as soul loss. So when I mean, and who in this country right now isn't suffering with post-traumatic stress?
Exactly.
So when you look at it and you go, oh, this is a piece of their soul missing, because people who've gone through long-term depression
Yes.
and done the work, or long-term anything, and done the work, and they haven't gotten better, that piece of them is not there. They can't get better because it's not home. So when you bring it back and it's there, they can heal. They have the potential to heal.
Thank you, Sheila, for this insightful presentation today. We appreciate you stopping by, and we appreciate everyone else joining us to hear this important news, basically. I don't care how many years we've devoted to working in this field or what our experience is. We all need reminders now and then. We need little nudges to push us in the right direction, and I think we got some of that today. And Sheila gave us some interesting new tools to use in order to correct our course. Please be sure to check out the program notes that accompany this video presentation. There you will find hot links to take you directly to Sheila and her work, and she has a lot to offer. So I would encourage you to explore her website and check out some of the things she's doing recently. She's got a lot to impart. And if while you're there, please click on the like button for the video just to let everybody know that you had a chance to check it out, and tell your friends. Please let them know that you found a new channel and it looks pretty good. So thanks again for joining us today. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Oracle Scroll. Please forward any questions, comments, or inquiries to theoraclescroll@gmail.com, and we'll look forward to entertaining you again very soon in the next episode.